Hello there. If there is a God, how come COVID-19 or how come there is a pandemic that is killing millions around the world? What is going on? Where is God in all this? This is a question that comes again and again, especially when the world is facing crisis like a terrorist attack or an earthquake or a hurricane, or when wars break out. People naturally ask, where is God in all this? If there is a God, how come there is so much of pain and suffering, etc.? So you can put that same question in different forms, but the underlying trouble that we have is that if there is a God, then we shouldn't be having all these problems. Okay, but first thing, do we have the right to ask such a question? Do we really have the right to ask that? Well, some people believe that it's all because of your deeds, something that you have done in the past, this life or the previous life, etc. So there is no way you can complain. There's no way you can question God and ask, why is this happening? Because it all boils down to what you have done in the past. At best, you can hope for something better if you suffer through it in the future. Some others would say it's all totally under the sovereign will of God, and this God who is so far away, you cannot ask him questions. You just have to accept whatever God gives. So again, for such people, there is no question of asking God, why is there a pandemic if you are there? And then take the case of atheists and agnostics who don't believe in God. They can't even think about asking why is there evil and suffering or whatever it is happening in the world. It's just sheer chance. But they would ask us, those who believe in God, you say you believe in God, how come this is happening in the world? So anyway, the first thing I want to remind you is that I want you to ask yourself, where are you standing today? Do you have the right to ask this question? In what you have been believing till now, do you have the right to ask, if there is a God, then how come there are pandemics and earthquakes and terrorist attacks, or specifically COVID-19? How come there is COVID-19 if there is a God? But we can ask, God, as we understand from the Bible, we can ask him, you claim to be loving, you claim to be the creator of the heavens and the earth and all human beings. We are all your creation. How come there is COVID-19? Okay. So the answer of the God of the Bible would be, every life is precious because we are created in the image of God. Now, this complicated thing of the image of God and all, I'll let you think about it later on. But it simply means that we are created by God to have a relationship with him. We reflect certain aspects of his qualities and characters. We are not gods. We are created by God. The point is that we are individually important for the God of the Bible. He knows your name. He has created you. And every life is precious for this God. Now, that won't satisfy us. The third thing I want to remind you is that God himself has found a permanent solution, not only for COVID-19, but also for all the negative things that are happening in this world, because God became a human being, died on the cross, rose again, and He's inviting us to a life that is eternal. This is not our real home. That is the answer the God of the Bible is giving. This is not our real home. This doesn't mean that the problems that we have or the dreams that we have in this life is not important for God. No, not at all. As precious as it is, our life in this world, this is only for a few years. But our real home is with God. So, what is the answer to this whole issue of if there is a God, how come there is COVID-19? Let me remind you, number one, do you have the right to ask that question? What do you believe? If you're believing that your deeds you have to reap and there's no solution, you'll have to go through it, then you can't ask. If you believe that God is so far away and He'll do whatever He wants to, you can't question Him, then you can't ask. If you don't believe in God, you can't ask. But then the God of the Bible comes and we can ask Him, and He says, I have created you individually, and I've created you to spend eternity with me. That's why I became a human being. I died for you, carrying your sin. So sin, what is sin? Sin is a bad word, right? That's another message that the God of the Bible or the Bible itself is giving us. That we have fallen away from God through disobedience. I don't want to go into all the details, but this God claims to love you, and He came down as a human being. He died, He rose again, and He's calling us to a life with Him and saying, it'll all be made right. Because these few years, that's not the end of your story. I want to spend eternity with you. So remember these three things. Number one, do you have the right to ask this question? Number two, you can ask the God of the Bible, and His answer will be, your life individually is very precious. Pandemic or no pandemic, we have troubles, we have struggles. People are leaving this world every day. Somebody is mourning, somebody is crying out there every day. But you are individually important because God has personally created you. And thirdly, number three, God has created you to spend eternity with you. This is a short period of life we have here. Our real life is with God. If you follow Jesus Christ and tell Him, God, you're the only one I can ask. Why is there a pandemic? Why are there problems? Why do we have struggles? Why are we having so much pain? You're the only one I can ask. And His solution is, yes, there are problems. And the problem is sin. I've died. I've risen again. I rose again. And I'm inviting you to spend eternity with me. Will you submit your life to Jesus Christ? Will you say, yes, God? I don't understand the details, but here I am. Yes, God. I want to follow you. I want to be your child. And I want to spend eternity with you. May your search for answers end at the feet of Jesus. Thank you.